every score possible without, you know, being the opposite, being that you are winning, has happened between these two, I believe, every time in the finals as well. So it's always a question of, can QB be the one to take Telia down finally? It's got a lot of history behind it. I can probably talk about it a lot more, but after these introductions, we're starting on Blue Shift. It's best of 5 in the top right as the Blue Zerg. She is QB. In the bottom left, as the Pink Zerg, she is Telia. All right. So, yeah, I mean, like, you have to really kind of hone in on how many things contribute to someone being dominant for a long period of time, right? Cyril is going to be continuously picked apart, both in his playstyle from other pro gamers, as well as analysts, commentators, and as well as historians for years to come, right? Once they finally acknowledge that his performance in 2018 was the greatest thing in esports this year and for many years before and after it, once they recognize that. Anyways, because it's such a big deal. Telia, you could just, you know, in another universe, she could just be something that, like, you know, she's 6,500 MMR in EU, and she is actually just so much better than everyone else in this tournament, so it's not really something you can overanalyze. You just say, well, she's the better player. That's not the case here, all right? Like, she is, in fact, lower MMR, I want to say, than QB on many days. And I think QB even plays on EU, but anyways, and is just very capable of performing beyond her MMR. Some of that had to do with Telia. I think initially was not playing as much, but then the tournament's kind of reinvigorated, and then she's been playing a lot more recently. And some of that else is just like, you know, she does have this weird style where sometimes maybe if she did just have a very solid game, she would have been more consistent maybe in all of her matchups, but now she's a little inconsistent here and there and loses some silly things. Couldn't actually tell you for sure because I don't watch her ladder, you know, daily grind, whatever, but you guys can if you follow her on her Twitch channel, as she is streaming her point of view of the tournament. Just do not come back with spoilers. QB had slightly faster pools, so she does have the Lings out here faster, but Telia has the much faster speed, so a bit of this and that, right? QB finally starts her own speed, here we go. But nothing really to write home about, so I'll continue talking about their differences. So Telia has the weird style to punch above for MMR. QB is more of a standard player, as I was talking about before the break, and that she is reliably, you know, as if you're gonna chart someone's growth, you would think a player like QB would rise very consistently, very reliably, and that she would eventually just become the better player overall. But with playing against someone who can all in, who can do different styles, you can do both Lings and Roaches, all in, macro, whatever, you can never quite depend on just having more consistent results, because it all comes down to this best of 5 in this tournament that only happens every other 2 weeks, or every other week, sorry, and sometimes they don't even sign up for the same tournament, right? So this is the fourth time, sorry, that we've seen these two players play against each other. So far, QB has not been able to take the end results in her to her victory, you know, to actually gain the crown. She's gotten close, but it's never quite ended in her favor, 3-2. Can it be changed here today? Probably. I actually, like, QB's been working on her ZVZ, I would hope, with how many ZVCs she has to play. And is becoming more and more adept at figuring out Telia's style, even though the results lately have actually been worse than the first time they played, which is kind of weird. But I do believe that QB can finally take down Telia. She'll probably be the one to do so, even if it's not today, then maybe it's next time, and the next time after that, who knows. So far, things are even as they both scuffle back and forth. QB is going for an excess amount of Lings, however, so that puts her below the drone count of Telia as she tries to get up her third base. The earlier Lings that did not do very much ended up kind of cutting into her drone count just a little bit. And then her Ling speed that was pretty, like, a lot later, then Telia's made it look like she had trouble defending third base. So I guess even's not the right word. Things are not yet decided is the better way to put it, even though Telia has gotten a lot of really good benefits from how this has opened. So QB is going to try and go ahead and tackle the third base, but really just chip damage. Two Banelings weren't going to hold off Telia's Ling horde. She's making so damn many. She's got some defending her third base as well as some attacking QB's third base, which is still growing. Whoa. They added a very obvious animation for when that is healing. Good God. Okay, then. So one of the changes that I didn't really have to talk about because we didn't really see it very much, but Chang's Fuse is now over time as opposed to an instant 50. So they had to add a graphic to it, I guess. So, okay, whatever. Anywho, QB's Lings do come finally reinforcing to help out her third base, which she needs not just for the economy, of which she is now significantly down in drones, but also for her injects. I'm afraid that Telia might have already gotten too much of an edge. Now it's just a matter of steamrolling as we go along here. QB is not looking so hot as far as the long game goes. We get into the mid game here. She is down 15 drones, down an upgrade, and is going to be a lot later to her lair. At this point, I'd be shocked even if she gets to a lair. Right? Like, I'm not crazy. Yeah, she doesn't have a lair yet, so things are not looking good. Things quickly went from like, well, maybe she gets a good hit with Banelings. Maybe she's like runs by into the run bys, definitely the way to say it. Run bys into the main base and gets a couple drone kills. Didn't happen. Instead, she just continued to fall behind in the drone count while Telia was able to sneak in a couple drones here and there and also apply all the pressure she needed to not let QB do the same. Roaches get a little too far forward, so an easiest around there, but that is one very small thing for QB in this overall game. Her lair is finally on the way, about halfway done, but Telia is making her move out with her roaches. Not with roach speed, but rather with that +1 missile again, similar to what we saw, I suppose, from the last series. So maybe this is just how she likes to do the attack. This Telia stream is actually 10 seconds behind the stream. Oh, okay, so she does have the, delay on. What's your heart when you're sick, man? It looks like QB might... No, those are all Telia's Lings. Never mind. I mean, she was close to having Defender's Advantage really kick in for her. She had that +1 missile kick in where Telia was still waiting on hers. She was able to wash off a few of the Lings too, but no. QB just too far behind for a very long time, really. Like, what, 4 minutes she's been behind in the drone count? And it is all coming to a head here as Telia just continues to reinforce. And she doesn't have roach speed, so maybe, just maybe, with the lack of reinforcements here, QB will be able to push everything back, but it is a temporary hold as QB is still down 10 drones, still down 20-30 army supply, and down an entire upgrade. That would be something very, very difficult to overcome. GG. Telia takes game number 1 in very convincing fashion. That went from like, okay, you know, Telia's ahead in drones, maybe QB will make up for this somehow, to, oh, QB continues to fall behind in drones. She'll never make up for this, and then boom, she's dead. So not great, not great. You have a very typical snowball right there. You just find yourself slowly lagging behind. Might change for the next game. Next game's gonna be on Cerulean. I see some people talking about their individual MMRs, and there was a time, so this tournament's been running for, this is the 9th tournament. It hasn't been exactly every 2 weeks, so it's not been 18 weeks, it's been more like 20 weeks. I believe that initially Telia was just like not playing a whole lot, so she was hovering below GM MMR at like 5.2, but then she started playing a lot more. And now she made GM last season, apparently, and is now above QB's MMR. But for a while, QB, I believe, had the higher MMR. But perhaps not anymore. I was actually with you guys on the color thing that time. So let's bump that up. The reason they got rid of better team colors is because there's a slider for color intensity. And at some point, probably got reset for me. Because this is my casting account. I don't really change the settings, but sometimes the settings get reset. Yeah, speaking of Sarah picking apart Sarah's play, Kat's gonna have him on the breakdown. Thank you. That is pretty flippin' sick. A breakdown. Like I think I'm saying it right. I think that was the name of the show. Shit. Has been really cool. I have a lot to catch up on, but to have Sarah come on and talk about it, Kat's is a god. So make sure to tune into that, guys. Dago FX, cannot tell what you were trying to do there, buddy. Cannot tell. I'm gonna assume it's in good faith, though. In the bottom left, as the blue Zerg for the second game of the best of 5, it is QB down 1. In the top right, as the pink Zerg, she is Telia. Starting things off nice and easy with a breezy 1-0. Rhyming, it's something I can do. Ugh. It's really weird not to feel like you have the same capacity of like, basically lung capacity, I guess. But when you're casting, you don't really think about it with your lungs. If you're holding your breath underwater, you're obviously thinking a lot about your lungs. But when you're casting, and you're doing it appropriately, it's a lot about the stomach. You're literally like, just compressing your stomach as long as it can go, as far as it can go, and then you run out. So, but I guess it's actually lung capacity. Anyways, it feels weird not to be able to, like, talk as long as you remember being able to talk because you're sick. And you just, like, kind of start wheezing. And you're like, oh, I should stop talking, because if I don't stop talking, I'm gonna start wheezing. Sucks, man. But I'm just glad that the sickness has not gotten any worse. I was kind of afraid that when I felt it coming, man. I felt it coming. I didn't sleep the night before I went on my plane. So I didn't sleep from like 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. And then I went to, you know, I took the train and then I was on the plane and then I didn't sleep on the plane either. And then I finally get on like the plane back home after the layover. So it's like 1 p.m. or whatever, right? I could actually feel myself getting sick that entire time. Because I guess when you really think about it, when you kind of, sometimes you go to sleep because you're feeling a little tired, maybe a little sick, and then you wake up and bam, that's when you're like, oh shit, like I'm sick. Nah, man, I actually felt every single hour get worse and worse. And I was really afraid that it was going to be like a really bad sickness. I got my flu shot literally 2 weeks ago. Nailed it. Although there's still a chance I could have gotten the flu. That would have sucked. But yeah, I'm just happy that it didn't get any worse. I just feel out of breath all the time. That might also just be me being genuinely out of shape. Alright, we got a Baliness for QB. Lots of lings for Telia. She'll definitely play this style where she feels comfortable to skip the Baliness for an extended period of time. Sounds like one of the most dangerous things you can really do when you go for lings and your opponent goes for Baliness, right? If your opponent goes for lings only, then what do you care? But like if your opponent goes for Baliness and you actually decide to go, nope, I don't need it, sounds like a dumb thing to do, right? But if you have the proper control, you actually, you know the concept of ZVZ, the ebb and flow, and your micro is pretty good, so you're not just losing 20 lings at a time to banelings, you can get away with it. Then you put that gas into a +1 carapace, and then suddenly you can get away with it a little bit more. If you do make a big mistake, your lings will actually survive one hit from a baneling with that +1 carapace. Because you're not investing into banelings, I guess generally the idea is you also just have more lings to work with in general. So we see a lot of splits going down here, and even with 4 banelings, which is a solid amount of banelings, QB almost got overrun there. But Telia, despite whatever split she attempted to do, there is still a lot of decent trades. You know, a baneling for 5-6 lings is definitely decent enough. And things are held for our blue Zerg. But this is where Telia was able to get ahead last game as well. She is now ahead by 10 drones as QB made banelings, but then also had to make her own equal amount of lings to defend that. And then some, actually. So Telia is currently winning the Resources Lost War. Not by a ton, but Obviously, she's gaining a lot more income as her third base is starting to get a little saturated. It's going basically uninterrupted. QB having a very tough time equalizing the damage, getting her own big upheaval of drones compared to what Telia did to her. She's having trouble doing it. This is as close as she's gotten so far to being able to drone, but she's actually making more lings, and also her injects perhaps getting a little too far in between. See, 500 minerals. Yeah, she actually pulled the Naturals Queen to the third to try and help out and has not returned her quite yet. So injects becoming a problem for QB here. Just a little bit, and then again, not going into drones, going into lings instead. But like a little too weirdly paced, so that we now have this situation where QB might have been able to really start a snowball on this side if she had been able to flood continuously. Didn't happen, and now her lings are being used offensively while she's still technically down drones. Not by a lot, well, now by a lot, but by enough. Now Telia fits in more drones. She's up 6 again while still scuffling toe-to-toe against the Banelings. She had that +1 Carapace help out there for sure. Obviously, Ling Wars have always been going in her favor. And yeah, anytime that Telia's been able to make lings, she's also been able to make drones, and she's gotten away with it. Not so for QB, kind of the TLDR of these past 2 games. Every time QB tries to do the same thing as Telia, tries to send lings across the map, tries to buy that time and get that little edge as the ebb and flow of ZVZ does, she doesn't do enough damage or doesn't drone quite enough to make up for it. Finally here, she defends this with the help of a couple of roaches. She does add on 11 drones, now bumping her up above Telia, but Telia is once again going into her roaches with a +1 missile. This time, I think this is the best she's been able to execute her build order so far, as she has that roach speed kind of timed up with that +1 missile. So Telia should be moving out as soon as those get close to finishing, basically, right? Looks like injects for both sides have been like a little hit and miss, so we have Telia investing into a fairly fast macro hatchery, as well as a 4th base. She just was, had too many minerals, and that's better than not using them at all, I guess. We'll want to add on a couple more overlords. She's gonna get close to supply blocks. When you start really making those roaches, man, you gotta make like 4 or 5 overlords. Roaches very supply intensive compared to constantly trading out lings, right, and banelings, that is. So, you're, gonna get supply blocks pretty easily. There we go, 3 more overloads on the way. She's gonna have a ton of larvae to work with. She actually does not move out as the +1 missile finishes. She doesn't really have that big of an army, I guess. But now, there we go, finally moving out here. +2 missile has already started. She does have a strong macro backbone, whatever you want to call it, behind this with 54 drones. The upgrade's on the way, 4th base on the way. But she also has a very strong attack where she's up 20 army supply against QB, who is even starting to build spore crawlers because she thinks that it's a spire. The Overseer now comes in here and sees absolutely no spire. Her overlords on the defensive see that it is in fact just roaches coming across here, so that's just a waste of minerals. Maybe it was also in case there's healing claws, but with 2 in the main, I think she thought it was Muta's. Not actually the case, but luckily for her, she has enough roaches on the defense to deflect this. That will quickly change. Telia does, at the end of the day, have that +1 Carapace, as well as about 40 more army supply now. And again, all the macro behind it means that she is in a very safe place to posture and poke and prod. And Telia doesn't have to end the game right now, but with the army supply all together, she could certainly take a stab at it. She's gonna go for it. QB is the one unfortunately bound by her own choke, because Telia's concave is quite good. Almost all of her roaches are hitting, not so for QB necessarily. And simply put, she had less roaches with less upgrades. Chances are kind of starting to come down, but even if they were the old Chansus, they wouldn't really have helped. Telia takes game number 2, and QB starting the Banshee tournaments off so strongly. I think it was Banshee tournament number 2. Because I didn't get to cast it, unfortunately, but I think that's where QB was able to take 2 games off of Telia, and then from then on, it's never been nearly as close. So Telia put more hours into laddering, or is mixing up her playstyle a little bit more over time with more of these roaches. I don't know. Maybe QB's not laddering as much, this and that. I don't care. I don't know. Whatever. IDK. Point is, QB has not been able to tackle Telia nearly as much. I always believe, though. I always believe that she's the one to do it. We do have another player who can give Telia a very hard time. Also a K-name, but a Terran player. Hold on here. Hold on. Kyla? Haha, Kyla. You fucking nailed it. Kyla is a player who can also give Telia a very hard time, but has not had as close of match results as QB has had. I think Kyla's always been 3-0'd by her, but Kyla will have these games where she'll get into a very good position against Telia, kill like 50 drones, just something extreme like that, but then we'll let it slip. So maybe it'll be Kyla that eventually tackles Telia, but I don't know. I always figure it's going to be QB. We have Kairos Junction as the next map choice, a map I have not seen today yet. Thank you, Hello Zergwing, for the 15-month resub. Any chance of getting Aphrodite to play in the Banshee tournament? Hey, when's the last time you saw her stream? I know people have their favorites, as will always happen, but I don't know why you would expect her to play. Everything seems like a blur. This has been a very fast Banshee tournament. Usually they're around 3 hours. This has been 2 hours, if it ends here. And I'm tired. I'm gonna probably pass out after this. Ugh. Ugh. Okay. Potential last game starting here. Kairos Junction. Telia is up 2-0 against QB. Will she be taking another tournament? Probably. Seems that way. I think Telia has made, like... I don't know. Why did I start that sentence? I wasn't gonna end it very well. Oh, okay, let's try. 7 times. Nope, I shouldn't have tried it, guys. She's made over $700. There we go, that's a safe way to put it. Playing the Banshee tournaments, so that's pretty sick, right? Ugh. Especially because they're all fairly short as far as open tournaments go. But we have things starting off nice and spicy here. In the top left, as the blue Zerg, she is QB and she is down 2-0. 0-2, whatever. In the bottom right, going for that pool first, it is the pink Zerg, Telia. Has said she doesn't want to do Banshee tournaments anymore. That's unfortunate. I don't know what Bovani Fine's trying to do here, but getting timed out. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Kyla had some really good play. A mech player, so I was never quite, you know, kindred spirits, but she's definitely very good. Thank you for the 100 bits, Kill Mails. CG is Aussie time zone, right? What does that make sense? How does that make sense? Why would you... What? How the hell would that make sense? Anyways. Early pool is now going to... Well, it already showed itself. Just kidding, this is Overlord. But it's now going to do something. It's going to start attacking that hatchery. QB couldn't do anything about this. She doesn't want to cancel the hatchery because then they go straight to the main and kill a couple of drones. So she couldn't build anything because she just went on her spawning pool. So the most she could do is mentally prepare, and now, you know, her choice obviously to send the drones down is a very usual one. The micro was not that great. A lot of drones are already taking a lot of damage. Typically, you want to you want to bait the lings, but you don't actually want to engage the lings until your lings are out, unless they're really sacking themselves on top of your hatchery. With QB losing 11 drones, as well as potentially losing her hatchery, that is basically game, unfortunately. Although, ooh, this is not a good trade by Celia. Maybe good enough? Nah, Queen would take care of things. Still, 11 drones go down. That puts Celia ahead in drones with her own hatchery because it wasn't a super all-in, and QB is going to really struggle in this game to keep up with the pacing. Thank you, Hurt. Thank you, Hurt1, for the 300 bits. Go goes, great tournament. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ugh. Speed's on the way now for Celia. QB did have drones in gas and even kept them there a little too long. So, I mean, she really needs as much mining as she can possibly get. But she will be able to start that speed, as well as a Baneling nest, so I guess that's the sort of silver lining there. Injects going strong for both players on 2 bases is also the good thing. You know, she didn't end up losing that natural hatchery, although it is very low. A potential Ling Flood in the future could try and snipe it. Obviously a dangerous thing to try and do, but it is a potential when it's in the red like this. If it's lower, if it's at like 200 health, I think Celia would actually try. With going up to 400, I don't think she'll try it. It could happen. Maybe you have banelings that are going to explode on the larva anyway, so you just try and kill the hatchery. Sure, why not? Celia going for that evolution chamber once again. Now scouting, seeing that QB does not have an evolution chamber. She doesn't have a baneling nest. Well, she didn't see the baneling nest, but it does put down as the lings get into the main. Speed kicks in, so now they're going to be really pesky. They're going to get out, see the baneling nest, there you go, and know exactly how this game's going to go. And it's going to look a lot like the past 2 games, right? We have the +1 carapace from Celia versus the baneling nest of QB. QB is down 5 drones. This is all very deja vu right now. Although it was a significant change of the starts of the game, it is kind of looking the same. QB is going to go for what looks to be, I mean, basically all in. I feel like even with banelings, though, you can eventually just simply afford a 3rd hatchery. Well, this attack is starting off okay. The trade on QB's side of the map is probably something that Celia was willing to take. As long as, again, it was on QB's side of the map. And the snowball effect isn't nearly as strong. Celia adds on a Roach Warren instead of a Baneling Nest very quick, so I think much quicker than the previous game. She does have the +1 carapace on the way, of course. And she now sees the Banelings being morphed. Of course, she knew they were going to be on the way. And, well, how good can Celia defend the Banelings? We do have the 3rd hatchery, so, okay, yeah, you can afford it, kind of no matter what. Oh, my good God. Decent Baneling hit there. Not the most amazing, but certainly very, very decent. Overload coverage for both players, pretty good. Celia's gonna see the lings now bulking over to the right side of the 3rd hatchery. She's gonna try and get that queen to a decent position, but not quite happening. Potentially a lot of damage not being sent out anymore. The queen could really help out, but hey, whatever. Sometimes it can do it can do God's work against banelings. That basically is what the queen's there for. Roaches are going to be on the way very, very soon, but they're just started. Lings are on the way, but the Banelings are already here, and Celia might have just finally been broken. Now, she's up in drone. She's up an upgrade. She has a 3rd base already done, so she does not want to tap out anytime soon. But QB with a simple Ling Flood has caught Celia too late to the Roaches with too few Lings. A lot of Celia's Lings went over to try and tackle the 3rd base, and then realized they had to come back home, but they were too late to it. Celia now down 29 drones to 17. Has Roaches on the way, but she was in such a damn quick position, and QB, with one fell swoop, is able to take down the drone count and bring this game, this series, rather, to a 2-1. There you go. GG. It's not going to be 3-0. Not today. So now it is Telia's choice. She's gonna choose Stasis. Which is a very odd looking map. Both players are ready. Still potentially the last game of the series, right? Telia still has that extra life, kind of padding any other risky attempt she wants to make. I mean, that risk really did pay off last game. That was not the problem that she early pulled. It was the problem that she tried to get to roaches maybe a little too fast without having her own banelings or without having enough lings, which is usually something that Telia does not have a problem with. So kind of an odd turn of events towards the last minute there. But hey, it happens to everyone in ZVZ. Suddenly you just don't have the lava, suddenly you just don't have the... You don't realize how many lings your opponent really could have gotten, and you're overrun. Oh well. Luck, it's a best of 5, and that mistake won't cost you first place. In the top left, as the pink Zerg, she is Telia. First place in every tournament, except the ones she doesn't participate in. In the top right, as the blue Zerg, she is QB. Someone says, don't skip Banes in ZVZ. Well, that's not really, that's not the end-all be-all statement there, buddy. If it was, Telia would not have the 2 next to her name. Because she has been not going for banelings in a lot of these ZVZs. It's possible, even if it is dangerous. What is going on here? Okie dokie then. That is a rave going on there. That's like a billion drones stacked on. Oh my good god. Oh my god, freak out. Oh, it's good. It's good. We're Gucci. Okay, it doesn't like this map. I guess it's called Stasis for a reason. Anyway. So Telia, will she change up her style because she lost a game without banelings? I mean, banelings do make things a lot easier in a lot of regards. I think when you really get to like a mastery of ZVZ, you really do have to start kind of seriously evaluating how often Banes save your life and how often they don't. Because you do have, you know, the pros go for 2 base with the wall off, although a lot of these maps, these new maps, don't seem to be very good for that. This is weird. This ramp's all the way over here. Anyways, and how many times you can kind of, you know, get away with skipping the Bailey Nest, because it is something that is not necessarily always worth it in the sense that you get the damage done for the equivalent of investing into the gas or investing into building banelings, nor does it do the damage you want if you try to attack with it, right? So it is something you have to seriously weigh in and consider. As far as like anyone who's not a pro, anyone who's below GM, banelings are probably going to be something you want to get. They are the easier way to play ZVZ, almost always. Because even if your opponent like skips it and then, you know, gets like 2 more drones temporarily, let's be real, if you're even in Masters League, like if your macro really is better, it's going to shine through. I wonder what she was checking there. Huh. Okay, well. Anyways. Bailey Nest for both players, so there we go. Lings are already tackling this 3rd base, but so few lings, they really should not be able to kill it. There's not that many. There's just not that many. Okay, there we go. Always a little scary, you know. That hatchery is new. It's a little babby hatchery and doesn't have a lot of health points. Does a baby have a lot of health points? No, it doesn't. It could die to 2 lings. Scuffle does go in favor of Telia to simply add more lings there. No one's adding on drones quite yet, around the same amount of drones. This is going to be a back and forth little Baneling war. Who has the better micro? Nice micro from QB to tackle the very weak Baneling Cocoon, now tackling another one, but also having to deal with the incoming flood of lings from Telia. It is truly a back and forth. 2 Banelings, almost for 2. Decides to go for the lings instead, or actually I think that was a miss micro. As these Banelings probably would have been better off trading 2 to 2. Now trying to trade 1 ling for 2 Banelings. Works out so far, but has to dodge and weave, dodge and weave. 1 Baneling for 3. Not the worst, not the end of the world there. Some lings go past QB's defenses, but they don't really have a lot of potency here. Not that many lings to really do a whole lot. Maybe if they hide in a corner, but they are currently being, it looks like they're being almost F2'd or a 1-8, whatever it is, back to their buddies. Maybe intentional, maybe not. All about this little section here. They both have third bases. Telia has been able to fit in a couple more drones, though, so that's why we see a lack of lings from her side. There was so many Banelings being made under the sight of QB's Overlord. It's not like QB could just force the issue and try to run past. That'd be a little too dangerous there. So Telia is once again making that better decision to go for the drone. She's now up by 7. That is a significant amount, and she's even adding on a few more. If she ever makes the mistake of making drones instead of lings and she takes a very nasty Baneling hit, well, then that's when things turn south, and we see a repeat of last game, where Telia just simply did not have enough lings to stop the snowball effect, even though she was on her way to drones, or roaches, sorry, and she had a lot more drones. And that just might be what's happening here. Telia maybe a little overeager, maybe a little too greedy, making those drones that she did. Has lost 3, has lost a queen. Starting to lose out on some Baneling cocoons as well. Almost, but they do finish. They can still be microed again, since there's not many lings to support them. They wanted to go for the 2 for 3 trade on the Banelings of QB. Were not able to find it. The Herd Hatchery is now under pressure. Queen goes down with a bit of transfuse energy, a bit of inject energy as well. And the Roach Warren is a little too late here. Banelings pop off on the natural saturation. 9 drones in total go down, and Telia has indeed made the same mistake, a very similar mistake to last game. QB is going to overrun the Ling Queen with lings, and Telia is going to be taken to an ace match. It's like a caster cursed or something. I was starting to like really doubt QB, and as soon as I doubted her, she snapped back, recovered from a devastating defense against an early pool, took last game, is about to take this game, it looks like, as she's up 7 drones. But Telia's not out of it yet. She's got 3 bases. She still has some drones to work with as she goes ahead and transfers them back to the natural. And she does have those roaches that are going to help a little bit, and specifically sniping the Banelings. Unfortunately, with such a low number of roaches, they're not really that helpful when it comes to the direct Ling wars. But they will certainly help against these Banelings if they're microed, or, well, more likely if QB miss micros, I think is the better way to put it. If QB miss micros all the Banelings and the roaches, well, then she, well, that's a big mistake, isn't it? But Telia, the most she can do is try and shift click on whatever Baneling she can, but that's so many. That is so many that the roaches would not be able to kill all of them at once. This is going to be a tough defense, potentially, if QB even goes for it. You know, she also has an Overlord on her opponent's side, seeing how many roaches there are, seeing how many lings, and maybe rethinking things. I mean, when you make that many Banelings, you usually are going to go for the kill. Oh, that's awkward. But, you know, she sees maybe too many, and she's not going to go for it. 1 Baneling traded for 1 ling as Telia tries to get a run-by going. Not a lot of Overlord presence over here, but a simple Zelnaga tower giving a lot of control to the person in control of the map, I guess. To the attacking player. Queen is unfortunately surrounded, and while some lings died of the roaches on top, that was probably a worthwhile trade. Telia can't really rely on lings anymore. Her injects are going to really start falling behind. Her economy has also fallen behind, of course, so she's still down 3 drones. At least she's recovered mostly from the Baneling attack a couple minutes ago. QB is going up to a lair much faster than Telia is. No one quite to upgrade, which is a little surprising. You know, we've been seeing a lot of fast evolution chambers, and at the very least, an evolution chamber slapped down with a Roach Warren. That is kind of usually when you see it, right? But no, it's either forgotten about or both players are intentionally pushing that. What can be a very important upgrade, right? But they're pushing it a little bit farther, and then maybe their opponent isn't, but they've invested 100 into it, so that's when they go for the kill. It can't be intentional. I feel like it's accidental for at least one person, or maybe both, because we now see an evolution chamber on the way. QB most likely gonna go for that +1 missile right off the bat. Telia is the one that's down in this game, shockingly, so considering how that started, right? But the one thing you would usually give up is upgrades. It's kind of weird to see a reaction to having less drones, taking worse fights, is to go all in on the upgrades, because it takes so long to really come to fruition, right? It's like a 2 minutes before you actually get something back from your investment. Well, this Ling's gonna kill 2 drones for no reason. Or kill no drones, because it keeps swapping targets. Come on, buddy. I believe in you. Oh my god, I didn't kill any drones, you flippin' real. Well, anyways. Evolution Chamber did finish for Telia only slightly after QB started her +1, so okay. I guess that was done. It just wasn't used. Alright. 4th base on the way for QB, which is seen by Telia, I think. That's a weird.
Forces are under attack.
Oh my god, QB, this is Diva, we're no longer friends. God. Alright, quick little snipe there on the 4th hatchery. Not too shabby for Telia's leftover Lings right there. They found a space where they're hidden, so they're gonna continue trying to poke and prod. Telia is still behind in those drones and it's like she's waiting to be attacked. I mean, she saw a ton of roaches, but it's always that weird thing where, like, yeah, it's a lot of roaches and QB could have gone up to 60, 65 drones. At 55 drones, it's also not a bad time for her to simply be making roaches either. You know what I mean? So Telia, hindsight 2020, you know, I'm the cast with all the knowledge, whatever. She probably would have been better off adding on those 10 drones 30 seconds ago and then going into nothing but roaches and spine crawlers. But timing's sort of being missed right now. And I don't think... We see a lot of ZVZs go into kind of a low economy. When you consider how when Zergs go up against Terran, they like to be around 70 drones, right? When you consider 55 a low economy. So that's a lot of ZVZs. They'll stick around 55 and they'll just constantly butt heads with roaches. Like low income is kind of quote unquote. But that's an okay time to start building roaches. I think 46 is a little more desperate. And you will just eventually taper off and be overrun because your economy is not up to snuff. But there are some weird choke points on this map, so now we gotta really start talking about the map, how new it is, and it seems to be one of the less chosen of the new ones as well. The 4th base has an open arc, you know, for concave versus concave, but here you're not gonna really be able to bust through. Here, even with the high ground, it's a very small choke. You don't want to do that. So QB has to go around town and then find somewhat of an opening. The upgrades are even. QB has the speed, though. She even has Tumbling Claws and Burrow, and it simply just has too many units. Ravage is coming forward here as well, as Telia is super duper overrun. Things not looking good for Telia. She's going to be taking the ace match for Sherzies. GG. QB with the ace match. And Telia immediately choosing the map, Automaton. Was it done already? No, this is the one where I have to, like... I have to use a clock again. Ugh, clocks are hard. Whew. Last game of the series coming up here. Automaton, game number 5, ZVZ, Telia versus QB. Oh boy. Oh lordy. Telia with a super strong start of a 2-0, even making it look easy, just simply choosing the better times to get the drones in. Suddenly, after an amazing start to game number 3, gets precision striked. That was a hard sentence to say. Why did I try that? Why did I try that? She was cut at the exact right moment. Caught droning, caught trying to go into roaches. She was caught after dealing so much early game damage. Game number 3 doesn't go in Telia's favor. Instead goes to QB. Then game number 4, she was in a decent position once again. And then is droning a little bit too much. Too few lings. Once again, tries to go into roaches and they're not there to actually help her. Loses game number 4. And now it's game number 5. QB seems to have found the secrets to killing Telia. But is Telia evolving? Is she adapting? Is she figuring things out herself? And will she eventually close this out in her favor, as she did so many moons ago in the Banshee tournament number 2, I believe, where she was still able to take the 3-2 victory? All those questions will be answered right now. In the bottom left, because fuck clocks, it is the blue Zerg, QB. In the top rightish, it is the pink Zerg, Telia. And if QB is able to take the victory against Telia, it would be a historic day in the Banshee tournaments, as Telia has so far been undefeated. Whenever she has joined a Banshee tournament, she has won it. 2, she has not joined. 1, I believe she was sick. The other one, don't know. But she's not obligated to join every single one. And those are the 2 that QB ended up taking. It only seems right that she would be the one to take Telia down face-to-face in a ace match. Alright, stage has been set, map has been chosen, build orders have been chosen, both continuing to drone up here. No sneaky ways to end the ace match. Telia, I believe you could sum up the 2 games she has lost by saying that she was droning when she should have been making army. The third game was a little, like, more complicated than that, I think. But still kind of what it came down to. She didn't quite have enough army to defend, even after having a significant economic lead for an extended period of time. So let's just chalk it up to that. Still has had a lot of ZVZ victories because of her style with the fast +1 carapace, skipping the Bailey Nest, and going right into the roaches. It seems to be that she's just getting a little too confident in those sneaky drones. Whenever we've seen QB at 25 and Telia at 32, she's like sneaking in a couple drones here and there. It's when she adds in 2 and then 2 and then 2, you know, those last 4 drones seems to be where she's just a little too far behind on the lings. And it also could potentially be analyzed as just like maybe she's being too aggressive with the lings she does have, and the drones are not her problem. The drones are actually totally fine. It's just that she is kind of poking the beast, right? She's poking the bear. She's like, she's not just taunting QB with the amount of lings that she has while also droning behind it. She's actually taking the trades, tackling the banelings, trying to trade with them, and then does take a few bad losses here and there. Maybe that's her problem, and she should just be safer, more conservative with the lings as she adds on those drones, as she adds on the roaches. But things are going to get a little heated here as we have Bailey Nest against the +1 carapace. So Telia is going to continue doing what she's been doing most of these games, trying to defend against QB's lings while also attacking with her own. They both are doing that. Who has the better control? Does anyone have Bailings already? QB, in fact, does have 4 Bailings ready to go on the offensive. Already on the other side of the map. Telia, probably not too happy to see this already. There's so many spots in this map that you can hide Bailings being morphed, but Telia actually takes the defensive victory as she takes care of the banelings, she takes care of the lings, and QB sent so many of her lings and banelings to attack. She did not have enough to defend her third hatchery, which is entirely killed, not canceled, not stalled out right before it finished. No, it was killed, 300 minerals down the drain, and even if it wasn't a kill, but rather a cancel, that's still so long that she does not have a third base being injected. This is also a ticking clock in the terms of the upgrade finishing, not just the economy starting to kick in, right? Telia might be down 2 drones with a third base. She would eventually overrun. She also has that +1 carapace about to finish up, so that will allow her to survive any accidental baneling attack on a majority of her lings. But she's also trying to micro the best of her ability to make sure that doesn't happen anyways. QB with the counter micro now has just too many lings as well. She will be probably very furiously clicking on Telia's lings, seeing if an upgrade is finished. It's about to finish in 4 seconds. Third hatchery once again under fire. QB is gonna have to get this one up. She's gonna send some banelings back to help with, but it's probably gonna be too late. In fact, they're not gonna do anything. They stop prematurely, and the +1 carapace is done anyways. Third hatchery not canceled, but once again another kill, and QB is all in with this. She was able to successfully take a game. Game number 3 went in her favor after she basically just said, you know, fuck it, let's all in. It barely worked out, but it did. Can it work again here up against +1 carapace? So many lings are still left over, and roaches are on the way, but there's so many lings for QB, and she's continuing to flood forward here. Queen not that good of a position. Roaches pop out immediately, surrounded by the lings as well. Banelings hit a couple of drones, not the best hits, but some decent ones. QB continues to hold that drone lead, but down the third hatchery. That is not enough to actually win this game, and her attack is actually faltered. She has lings that she's been trying to produce the entire time. They're just too far away to really help. There's no use in actually sending them across the map now. They're just going to be kept at home to defend. The slight counter by Telia. Is she sending the roaches as well? She is, in fact, sending the roaches. That's a little dangerous, I think. There's not really a necessity for her to do so when she knows she's canceled, no killed, sorry, the third hatch twice. But she is sending them across the map, meanwhile getting that +1 missile as well as the lair. QB trying to do all the usual macro things you'd want to see in a ZVZ, but now down 8 drones, down probably 2 upgrades, right? Still no evolution chamber for QB. Is going to be down 1-1 in a minute or two. Is simply too far behind. That attack with the lings and banelings was her last hope to really start the snowball, and Telia just simply had too many lings still left over to buy enough time for the roaches to pop, for more lings to pop, and she is definitely in the position to win this game. Can she actually close it out? She's dodging and weaving around those banelings. There's so many of them though that, oh my god. She just runs all of her lings into them. QB is going to be able to hold, but yeah, it's more about that macro game anyways. I kind of thought Telia was playing a little too overconfident with that attack, so seems justified it didn't work out, but that's not really what this game's going to be about. We have an evolution chamber finally on the way for our blue Zerg, but has +1 missile finishes. Telia doesn't really have the army she wanted to do that really powerful 1-1 push, so that's also another downside of the loss, and another loss going to be taken here as well. This is how QB could potentially hold, by the way, is if Telia kept sending her units in piecemeal. Like, that's how QB comes back into this, as what really should be a case where Telia is up 20-30 army supply as well as 2 upgrades, is now a case where she's only up the upgrades, but at an even army supply, and not really utilizing the upgrades as well as she could have. Telia's also missed out on roach speed for quite some time, so QB even has faster, which is a little surprising. So the reinforcements coming flooding through here, Telia wants to have the snowball effect. It's basically backfiring on her. And if her upgrades weren't so damn good, this is exactly how QB gets back into the game. And in fact, maybe it still is how QB gets back into the game. I mean, when you think of 1-1 to 0-0, you think that the person with 1-1 just instantly wins, right? Especially when they've also been up in economy. This is not a situation where Telia's had 20 drones the entire game. But no, the decision to continue pushing forward, the overconfidence, the eagerness, the impatience, whatever you want to call it, is potentially killing Telia's, not chances to win this game, because the chances are still pretty damn high, but they're making this a much more difficult game than it really had to be. If she had just waited with every one of these attacks and come all together, this would have been no problem, instant GG. But now QB, realizing that Telia is making these mistakes, is looking to actually move forward here, Roach speed did finish faster for her, but Telia is right behind, so it's not like she's gonna be out microed. Or shouldn't be anyways. And at the end of the day, Telia is also going to have defender's advantage, so QB would have to take not just even fights, but also have, you know, 15, 20, 30 even army supply above her opponent to really threaten Telia. Telia actually kind of goes for a surround the roaches, kind of a weird play to see from roaches instead of lings, but look at that roach count. 16 roaches of Telia to 5 of QB now. QB, I mean, she was lucky to survive as long as she had, with Telia just sending in her units one by one. Now is appropriately slapped back down, told like, hey, you're not gonna win this with your army, all right? QB would have had to gone for probably more, not, the word's not clever, but like sneakier things. There we go, sneakier things. She probably should have just taken what she could there, just acknowledge that she was given some defenses she should not have been able to really do. And then maybe have gone into tunneling claws, or maybe tried like a Hail Mary Spire, I think is the only way she truly could have come back into this game. Attacks on the left and right side, but the Banelings take care of the left side lings, and the right side is actually QB rushing into Telia's army. She once again takes the fight here. We have a trade of the numbers, so now it's Telia at 10 and QB at 17 with a Ravager also to boot. QB now has 10 army supply above her opponent, at least one upgrade to help her out. Telia had stopped making upgrades for quite some time, so her +2 is only halfway done. Things are not quite over as QB continues to make wiser decisions overall, I guess, than Telia. Telia kind of made one bad decision, right? The general bad decision of Telia this game, right, was that she kept on pushing forward with small amounts of units. She did that once, and then she did it twice, 3, 4 times. But that one bad decision, general idea decision, right, was bad. She made 4 bad decisions, basically, and is continuing to make some questionable ones, but these are more understandable questionable ones. You really would have thought that at this point, Telia would have been able to bully forward and actually win this game. Not quite so. I'm actually with her this time, and I'm like, oh, like, why hasn't she won yet? But man, those attacks earlier on are a big reason why she hasn't won yet. A big reason why she does not have 40 or 50 more army supply than her opponent, and is instead stuck at more like 15 or 20, which is something that defender's advantage can kick in for, especially when a lot of times that army advantage has been in lings that have been washed off very easily by Banelings. Telia aggressively pushes in here, gonna try and type the Ravagers. He does still have that upgrade advantage. He's about to have 2 upgrades again over her opponent, as +2 finishes in 4, 3, 2, and 1. There we go. QB still has like 30 seconds to buy on her own. The Spire was the choice. The Hail Mary Spire is finished, but she had to spend so many minerals and gas on building roaches just to survive that only 3 mutas will pop out and help out, and the decision has to be made. Does she keep them hidden and continue to add on one at a time? Maybe you get up to a total of 10 and then you can actually deal some significant damage, or do you have to bring them out forward and actually help out? It looks like she could just keep them hidden. She is winning the Roach War. Telia cannot get across this big of a map fast enough to actually continue to push her advantage. Every time she's up 15, 20 armor supply, she's not really when it comes to the units directly on the front line. Plus, who's also about to finish for QB. She's able to buy enough time. Does she have enough units reinforcing here? I know she just had 13 roaches pop, but where the hell are they? Didn't she? Maybe those already had popped, and I'm just blind. I guess they already popped, so now the mutants do have to come forward and help out. They are seen by Telia. Where are they going to go exactly? They're going to bypass all the overlords. They could get like 7, 8, 9. They could get like 10 overlords, actually, if they had started targeting them, but they're going to go right for the drone line. Unfortunately, they might have been necessary back at home to defend, as QB has run out of minerals and gas. She cannot defend anymore. She's lost all of her Ravagers. Another benefit that she used to have is now gone, as the last one is sniped here. And Telia, it took forever, but she was eventually able to push through. The mutas are going for that drone line. They're killing a lot of drones. They're getting the economic victory, I suppose, but at the cost of, well, not really the economic victory, right? Because at the cost of every single one of her drones at her own third base. These mutas might have been able to just been enough, barely enough to push the attack back if they had been combined with all the roaches of QB. But without the mutas, the roaches did fall. They were always down in that upgrade. QB GG's, and Telia takes the ace match to continue being the dominating queen of the Banshee tournaments. No one can stop her, but damn, did QB get flippin' close.